Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs podcast. We have got a really, interesting episode today because it's not something you hear on a lot of podcasts. And what we're going to be talking about is spanking as a child and the effects that it has on adults' lives. So grateful to have Sanette here from the UK. Sanette, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you, Brad. It's been an awesome day. Every day is an awesome day. Yeah, so doing well, thank you.
That's exactly what I say. Every day is a good day. There's no bad
Uh,
day because it's all how you look at life, right? Your car
absolutely.
your car breaks down, you break your ankle, it's all happening to us for one reason or another, right?
Absolutely. There's something to be learned, there's something to grow from, victory and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like we always do at the How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs podcast, we jump right into some really tough and some really intriguing subjects. So I'm going to ask you, were you hit or spanked as a child?
Mm, Brad, we got hidings.
Hidings. Tell me what
Hidings.
a hiding is.
Hiding was you bent over, your hidey is open, and a hand or a belt or something got smacked onto it. And it happened in school, it happened with the neighbors, it happened when your mother gets home, and then when your dad gets home, you get another hiding because you upset your mother. So yeah, bruised many times. Yeah.
Wow. So how often are we talking about this happening?
Oh, it could be multiple times a day, it could be every other day. Anything. You are too loud, you are too busy. You hurt yourself, you're crying. I'll give you something to cry about. Stop crying.
Wow. Wow. If Dr. Gabor Mate was on this show, he'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like the worst of the worst, right?
Yeah,
Stop crying." When you tell a kid to not express their emotions, they basically have to depress their emotions. And what is
yeah,
depressed emotions? What does that turn into? It turns into depression. So this may be a
absolutely.
good segue into asking you, Sinette, as you look back, I know that you're an RTT therapist just like myself, which is rapid transformational therapy. So you've done a lot of work, you've helped a lot of clients. I want to hear firsthand from you. How do you think that constant spanking or hiding, as you called it, how do you think that how did it affect your life until you did the work?
Oh, it had, oh, that huge effect on my life. First of all, you learn from a little child, apart from the helplessness, you just learn that, well, you don't have a voice. You can't speak. Your opinion doesn't count. You can't even defend yourself. Um, and you just internalize everything. You would rather deal with, it also makes you disconnected because you would rather deal with things that you're going through on your own rather than sharing it, because you could be sharing the wrong thing that could get you into trouble, that would hurt you. And I think longer term in all of that is also, you're so used to that when you choose a life partner, you continue with the cycle. That whole cycle of distance, of, if you don't do what is expected of you, the punishment is normal
Right. So
until it's
well,
not normal, till one day when it's not normal anymore
yeah. Well,
you
so
know
you just said a lot, right? Um, you said that because of all the punishment and all the violence that was inflicted on you, you didn't have a voice. Um,
No.
do you do is that kind of do you do work in that arena? And did it keep you from having a voice as an adult?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I specialize in, is helping people find their voice. um and you would so many people do that because, I even have some CEOs that I work with, and they get to that point of, well, I'm just worth giving money to people because I'm not worth anything else. So there's no connection. And then you start to step back. And it comes down to that same kind of thing, that it's a repressed situation since you were a child, right? So you just never ever connected and could never get your voice out there.
Wow, that's really interesting. So you obviously came to RTT for a reason. Tell me more about how it affected you, and did you go through what mental anguish or pains did you have as a result of the spankings that you received as a child?
So I had, like I said, first of all, I chose the wrong life partners. And I was severely depressed for a very, very long time. So I was on antidepressants many years. And you sort of go out of that, then you go back into it and go back on another antidepressant. Um, I was eventually diagnosed with PTSD. And again, you and I both know, right? It's not the presenting problem. It's like you go like, yeah, you see somebody and go like, yeah, you're PTSD, we have to do CBT, and then you're gonna go on antidepressants. You go like, okay, yeah, well, that's what I will do. And
Sanette, can we hold your thought?
please,
I want to break that down because you just spoke some jargon that people might not
oh,
understand, right? So everyone knows PTSD, and you basically said what the Western world does is they diagnose you, they label you, and they give you drugs. So in your case, they said you had PTSD. They said that you needed CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what most talk
correct.
therapists do, right? Which is they get you
Yeah,
in a chair or get you on a couch and they come in every Tuesday and over and over again, you talk about your problems and you talk about your symptoms, but
yeah,
you never really get to the cause. And then a lot of them want to prescribe you these anti depression and anti anxiety drugs that, for the most part, have the same effect as a placebo, right? So,
correct.
just I just wanted to explain that. So carry on what you're saying. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. So, um, so for me, when I got to the point where I read up about RTT, I thought like, oh my gosh, I have to try this out. I have to see what this is. So I didn't try it out in the sense of what am I going to get out of that, right? I thought like, you know what, people always come to me and talk to me about their personal stuff. And that's happened since I was in school. I would end up with all this information and someone would go like, no, don't want to know, don't want to know, but it's out there now. I know, so I always call it fixing the world. And I thought I need more tools to help people fix the world. So when I started studying RTT, I realized that I'm growing and I'm changing, you know, one module after the other. And also when we did the reflective practices and things like that, it was just phenomenal. I went from very low to like right up to a 8 or a 9, which was just amazing and so quickly. Um, yeah, it was just phenomenal. And you know what? It actually got to the point where I thought like, I'm paying this money to study this course, right? Even if I never see a client, this is still cheaper than all the therapists that I paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Amazing.
know, it was
Amazing.
amazing. Yeah.
So let's go back. So I've got on the screen right now, punishment doesn't work. You got hit sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, almost every day. Did it work? Did you like if it worked and you were spanked the first day, wouldn't you not have to get spanked the second and the third and the 10th and the 100th day? So
No,
it didn't work?
no, obviously it didn't work. It didn't, and I was the youngest, so I took a few for the team, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it didn't work. No,
So sorry, go ahead.
apart from me getting to a point where I realized, okay, well, there's no point in anything in any way, you know, spanking didn't work. It didn't work.
Give me one or two reasons, the biggest reasons why you would get spanked as a child.
Okay. Um, things that I would get spanked for as a child. Um, okay, me and my brother would play and he would start crying. I would get spanked. He's older
Okay.
than me. He's older than me. It must have been me because he wasn't like that when he was on his own. Must have been me.
So you're doing age appropriate things. You're doing nothing wrong, and you're getting spanked.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Punishment doesn't work, let alone spanking. I've learned this the hard way through with my children, and I've read a lot of the parenting books. And Gabor Mate, one of my mentors, has been doing this work for 40 years.
Yeah.
Kids misbehave for one reason and one reason only. They misbehave because of a lack of connection with usually with a parent, right?
Yeah.
So they're misbehaving, they're asking for love, and what do they get in return? They get violence inflicted on them. So the one person in their life that's supposed to be protecting them and loving them is doing what? Just the opposite.
It's hurting
They're
them.
they are hurting them, they're inflicting violence on them, and they're creating shame for them, right?
Yeah.
Can you do anything worse to a child? why is the child misbehaving in the first place? Because something the parent did. So
Exactly. Yeah.
so if you're spanking your kid, you should really, one, consider not doing it because it doesn't help them at all. And two, you might want to look at why are they misbehaving in the first place? Because they lack a connection with you.
Yes.
So you may say to yourself, well, it works for me because little Johnny now doesn't, make this up, doesn't leave the toilet seat up or doesn't hit his sister. Okay, great. So he doesn't hit his sister. So he didn't do an age appropriate thing, and you solve that thing short term. But now the rest of your life, you're dealing with this issue. Little Johnny's dealing with this issue until he wants to do the work. Unfortunately, some people go their whole lives and don't know and don't have awareness and don't do the work. When you look back at your childhood, Sanette, and all the antidepressants you've taken, all the therapy work you've done for decades, and all the um, uh, therapy sessions and whatnot, and the diagnosis you've got with depression, do you correlate that all back to the spanking, or was that a part of more stuff?
Now I do.
Now you do.
Now I do. Now I
Yeah.
can see it. I can see it and I can do that link and I can understand that. Um, and there's still, when I pick up dates, there's something that bothers me that I want to improve in my life. I would go back and do a session with somebody, and it always comes back, always, all of those sessions always comes back to at some point, and the last session was at the age of 2. A memory at the age of 2 came up, right? And that linked to a feeling of disconnected, not connected to people. So it everything in my life that has been a breakthrough for me has been linked to something that happened as a child related to spanking, taking accountability for people, trying to be, just good to keep everybody happy and not me. So all those things relate back.
Yeah. So you try to probably keep people happy as a child so that you didn't get spanked yourself.
Correct, correct. As long as there's peace and quiet and nobody is shouting and nobody is anything, I was absolutely hyper vigilant. So I would walk into a room and scan who's angry, who can probably explode, who's the quiet ones, and it's
Yeah.
subconscious. You don't realize it. And it's because of that violence, yeah.
So I started a couple weeks ago. I added to my intake form. So we at RTT we work with intake forms for our
Yeah.
clients, and I added one of the questions that wasn't on there. And the question I added was, "Were you spanked as a child?" Because it's so instrumental in the adult's life. And here's the thing that's really interesting: is that I don't know if your clients are the same way, but 9.5 out of 10 of my clients, when I ask them, do they have a happy childhood and were their needs met, they say yes, even though they checked the box that they were spanked. So people kind of use it as a badge of courage, like, yes, I was spanked, but it wasn't too bad. And all change begins with awareness, right?
Yeah.
So look, there could be 50 other things that happen besides getting spanked. Your sister comes home from the hospital being born, and you think your parents love her more. You see your dad inflicting violence on your mom. Your parents are never around. I mean,
Mm,
drug use. There's a lot of things, right?
mm,
But spanking is one of the things that really, really affects a child. But most people don't think it affects them. So if you're sitting there listening to this and you've got a crappy marriage and you've been through one crappy marriage or relationship after the next, or you overeat, or you come home every night and drink a couple of glasses of wine, or you smoke a lot of weed, or all this stuff destructive, you work 80 hours a week, your life is just not what you had hoped it would be. All change begins with awareness, right?
absolutely.
Do you find that your clients in general look back and be like, oh, the spanking wasn't a big deal and I had a happy childhood?
You see, I've never asked that question, but I will from now on. But but I've had few people that would go like, if you ask them, "Are you happy?" The child in the room kind of thing. If you ask them, "How are you feeling?" I'd get an answer, "No, happy, everything is okay." And I would say, "Why is that little child all on their own in that room?" Oh no, no. If I was with the adults, I would be in trouble. I would get a hiding or I would do something wrong. So yes,
So
it ties up.
so child in the room is another exercise that we use with our clients. It's a way to bring you back to your childhood and figure out, were you truly happy? And if you weren't truly happy, no one who had their childhood needs met would ever be talking to us.
Nope.
So we have the inside scoop because you wouldn't be in a bad marriage or you wouldn't be overeating or have weight issues or drinking problems if your childhood needs were met. So we already know that when someone comes to us and says, I need something to be changed. But so the child in the room is a great exercise to figure out, where did this unhappiness come from? Because your subconscious mind drives 95% of your behavior, right?
Yeah.
And people don't understand why, and myself included. For 47 years, Sanette, you asked me, did I have a lot of self-love? I've been like, yeah, I have self-love.
Yeah.
Did I care what other people thought? No, I didn't care, but it wasn't the truth. So I developed a self-love quiz so that people could have awareness. So if you're having these relationship problems and obesity, whatever, I mean, any problem in your life really can be traced back to your childhood. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
if you're sitting here and you're like, I love myself too, go to bradchandler.com/quiz, take the quiz. And if you score anything except extreme self-love, if you score mild self-love or lack of self-love, don't be upset because it means your life can profoundly change, like Sanette's and I. Would you agree with that, Sanette?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's such a huge shift in a very short period of time.
So tell me what work you did to go from depression, and because I've talked to you a few times and you've got a big smile on your face and you're very happy and you're
Yeah.
content. Your life has never been, I think you told me your life has never been as good.
Yeah.
What awareness did you make and what work did you do to get to where you are?
So all the breakthroughs, all the true breakthroughs, right, that I've had has been through RTT, has been through sessions with RTT. Um, so everything from not being connected, not connecting with people. I think the very not I think I know the very first session for me was finding my voice, because I would stand up, speak up, protect everybody else around me, support, supply everything to everybody else around me except for me. Because I had this thing, if everybody else is happy, some point I'll be happy, right? But I never was, because you can't make anybody else happy. If I knew that earlier in my life, it would have been so much easier, right?
Yeah.
So that was the very first one for me to do in my very first RT session, or the session that I received, was actually finding my voice again. And that was so phenomenal. It took me, like I said, it took me from a 2 up to a 8 immediately. Um, and then you get to that stage where you go, oh, I'm really happy, because you're so excited about all the stuff that you released, right? All these things that you carried with you all your life. Um, but then, because you are aware of what's happening inside you, you pick up the next thing, right? So the next thing for me was connection. So I found my voice, but I still didn't have connection. So I have people around me that I know that loves me, but I feel distant from them. Strange, right?
Yeah.
It's just strange.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, knowing what I know now, it's not strange at
Now,
all.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So that was my following session, was on connection. Um, and yeah, so everything from eating habits to exercise, connection, finding my voice. And that was my transformation in the last year. Going from I'm doing things because I have to do them to I really love doing it. It's not something I have to think about. I love doing it because now I'm doing it out of love for me instead of out of punishment for me.
And how different is life today than it was 2 or 3 or 4 years ago for you?
Hugely different. I've always been a positive person. Um, you know what? That thing where you always have a smile on your face, because that's just what you do. Because if you don't have a smile on your face, you could be in trouble somewhere, right? So always a smile on your face. But um, I don't actually, analyze people anymore. I don't talk to people and go, oh, how should I react around you? How should I respond around you? Should I be careful about what I say? Should I? I don't do that anymore. I'm now fine being me, you know. And My life is, I don't have to consider anything for anybody else. I still have loads to give and I do give, but I don't give now and go like, oh, let me see how you're going to respond to that. If I have, I give. And if I don't, I just don't. Or sometimes I have and I just go like, no, that's mine now. And that's okay. You know, wasn't me 2 years, 3 years ago.
Incredible. Yeah, I've 2 years ago with me, it's been 2 years. It's been the best 2 years of my life once I realized that I haven't even talked. Like my father used to spank me with a belt, and that I think was, or I know, was a cause of all of my issues, from my two failed marriages to the use of weed and alcohol to even losing $9 million in business transactions, all because when a 6 year old is getting hit, what is the 6 year old saying? The 6 year old is saying something must be wrong with me. I'm bad. If
Yeah,
I'm bad. And at 47 years old, when your subconscious mind is still telling you you're bad, it doesn't serve you well. And that's
no,
why we have so much addiction and obesity, and the divorce rate for is 50 to 70% from first to third divorces. It's insane, right? So yeah, when you become aware and you make the changes, and with RTT and rapid transformational therapy, you don't need to go to talk therapy for 30
no.
years. We help patients have dramatic differences in 3 hours, 4 hours,
Yeah,
sometimes an hour. So if you're suffering, you don't have to. I want to address the disconnection. You mentioned disconnection, and disconnection really is at the root of all of our issues in life, right? And trauma causes disconnection, right? Getting hit by your parent is trauma. It's
huge.
trauma. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When you are being hurt, physically hurt by a parent, that's trauma. That's trauma filled. So trauma takes you out of connection with yourself and creates all the problems in your life, because you're disconnecting. You've got to be someone different. You've got to disconnect from who you are as a human being, because you've got to survive this pain that you're going through, both emotionally and physically.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Sanette, what before we go on to our next subject, um, how would you put all this in a bow in terms of, if someone's listening to this and, number one, was spanked as a child, or number two, they're an adult that spanks their kids, what would you say to them? And how would you suggest that if they're the adult that was spanked as a child, that they get help and change their life?
So for the adult that's spanking a child, I would say, you know what, look at that that tiny little thing standing in front of you with those big eyes. Inside them, they're asking, how can somebody that loves me hurts me? I've asked that question many times. And when you see it in their eyes, you have to realize, I have to stop. That child only wants love and only wants connection. And for you is to start to look, as the adult, start to look inside yourself and go, why do I do that? And that's not a difficult question to ask. It's not a difficult thing um, to face, really. It is, I know, I say it's not a difficult thing. I know even when I have a session, you sometimes go like, oh, do I want to release this really? Do I want to? Yes, I do. So, but, really reach out and get help, because the moment you connect back with yourself, it will be easier for you to connect with your child. And then that connection will play on to the next generation and the next generation, because everything you have flows into your future and all your future generations. So break that cycle now. It starts with you.
You owe it to your children. They didn't ask to be brought into this world. The one gift that you can give your child that's better than any gift you could ever give them is to break this multi-generational curse that we're involved in. And
Yeah.
you do that through self-love and self-connection, right?
Yeah.
So, Sanette, if someone was spanked as a child and they are sitting listening to this and being like, it didn't really affect me, what would you say to that person?
I would say to that person, it's definitely affected you. Go look through your life. Go see, are you connected? What type of relationships are you in? What type of friends do you have? What kind of job are you doing? Are you earning your maximum? Are you doing your best? Do you get up in the morning? Are you happy? Are you ready for the day? If those answers come back no, deal with it.
And that's what you'll learn if you take the quiz at the self-love quiz at bradchandler.com/quiz. It asks those very questions. So if you're sitting there thinking, I got everything together, and spanking didn't hasn't affected my life at all, I think you'll find out differently when you take this quiz. So Great stuff. I know you work with a lot of clients. We've got about 5 minutes left, so I want you to tell me, give me like your kind of the moment you're most proud of. What client? What were they? What did they come to you for, and how did you help them?
I can pick only one, right?
Yeah, only one. We only got time for one.
Okay. So, um, I specialize in helping people finding their voice, and it sounds a bit bizarre to think that way, but it is just the way it shows up in some people's life, and especially in this one client's life. And I'm just going to call this client Sandra. So Sandra came to me and said to me, um, I just can't deal with confrontation. I just can't. I'm worried that people are going to think I'm rude and I'm horrible. I don't want to be rude and horrible. Um, but I don't even want friends anymore because I just can't stand. If I say we're meeting on a Saturday, they say no, we're meeting on a Sunday. If I say 2 o'clock, they say 3 o'clock. I can't deal with my in-laws because the fighting when everybody's around, I just can't deal with it. I just want to run away. I just don't want to deal with this. Um, but I need to sort it because obviously I can't run away from my in-laws. From friends I can run away, but from my in-laws I just can't run away. So we did the session, and it was so phenomenal. It was really so incredible. First of all, this Sandra grew up with her grandmother, and her father passed away at quite a young age. Her mother was a full-time working mother, but her grandmother was the person that everything, run around. Her grandmother could arrange everything, do everything, sort out all the problems, and that's how she perceived it. So she had this perception that only her grandmother can deal with confrontation and is allowed to be, straight and just say things as it is. She has to be nice and kind and sweet and not upset anybody else. So we went through a whole session, and her worry, this is the thing that got to her. She has a little girl now, and then she thought, is my girl going to be the same as me? So in the session we dealt with all these things, everything that happened with her as a child. I made her understand that her grandmother, or I shouldn't say I made her understand, because it's not us making them understand, is they actually doing the client making the connection. um, that she is she is the same as her grandmother. She has that same power within her. And after, did you want to say something?
No, no, no. So go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. So then, after the session, after we completed the session, when I did my follow up with her after the 21 days, she said to me, Sanette, this is the most amazing thing because I love my in-laws. They were there. They didn't fight. I was quite happy with them being there. We had a really good time. I said, and your father-in-law? Oh no, no, it was fine. We had a good time. I thought, this is good, right? But let's see what's going to happen. So at the same time as this dynamics in her private life started to change, she had some dynamics in her professional life as well. So remember, this is a person that couldn't speak up. She couldn't pick up an argument. She couldn't. And what I said to her is also, it's not you arguing anything. It's you just putting your point across, as somebody else is putting their point across. So that's perfectly fine.
She had no
Um,
voice, as you said earlier, right?
Nothing. Yeah, she didn't have a voice because she totally believed that she had to be the good girl. There are only certain people that can speak their truth, and everybody loves them in any way, right? But people will hate her when she speaks the truth. So that's that conflicting thoughts, isn't it? So
So
um
she completely changed at work too.
completely changed at work. She went from within 3 months, she went from a middle management to a senior management position. People just started noticing her. People just started seeing, oh my gosh, this woman has opinions. She can speak up. She can say things. She actually has really good ideas. And they started noticing her, and she went straight up to senior
S-
management position.
So, I mean, this must have taken years of work with her, right? How long did this take you?
No, 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 no. It was one RTT session with her.
For 2
So
hours or something?
2 hours. It
Two
was a two
hours.
hour session. her listening to the recording for 21 days. So in that 21 days, her personal life changed within the 21 days. She changed, hence her personal life changed, right?
Awareness, right?
Absolutely. And like I say, 2 months after that, to make it the 3 months, she even grew up. Not grew. She stepped up
So
in her professional life, and she wasn't looking for that to happen. It happened because people noticed her.
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So she doesn't sound like she was spanked, but spanking, like we said earlier, isn't the only trauma you endure. When a child's parent dies at a young age, the child usually thinks it's something to do with them.
Mm.
Secondly, since the mom, to no fault of her own, had to work all the time, she was never there. What do you think the child's saying when every day she's not there? She's probably saying, my mom cares more about something than me because she's never here. Where is my mom? I need her. There's times I fall down. I'm scared. Where is my mom?
Yeah.
She's somewhere else. So something must be wrong with me. Sanette, that was amazing. Tell everyone how they can connect with you.
Oh, thank you. Um, so you can contact me on my email address, sanette.raby@srhypnotherapy.com, or on my website, soulresponsehypnotherapy.com.
And if you enjoyed this session, please subscribe, please like, please give me a 5-star review, please share. And if you need to reach me, I'm at bradchandler.com/contact. If you want to take the self love quiz, it's really, really eye opening. Just go to bradchandler.com/quiz. And I started a private Facebook group called How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. If you want to join that, go to bradchandler.com/Facebook. And that was another amazing episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Sanette, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Brad. Have a lovely evening, everyone.